is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 272. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... sitting here on a Sunday. Beautiful. Austin, Texas, coming off the surprise schedule release that happened in the middle of last week and still looking for those option decisions. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm hurting a little bit, that's for sure. Happy birthday, Guillermo. Get that little shout out in there. Had a late night with the crew, but a fun one for sure. So definitely hurting a little bit, but excited to go over the goals bracket. Talk a little, some sadder moments here for sure on this episode that we got to address. So, might be a little bit of an emotional episode. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. And look, I can't pass up the chance to also say happy birthday to our buddy Guillermo and let the people know how much I dominated all of our competitions last night. Fucking Magic the Gathering, Mario Kart, dub. The champion.
You are the champion of the nerds. That is for sure. You are the nerd champion.
Well, I appreciate you recognizing that, my friend. Before we get into the Austin FC content here in episode 272 of the North End Podcast, just want to remind you, as we always do, that you can support the show financially by downloading the audio versions of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. So Spotify, Apple, you toggle on auto downloads. That'll support the show going forward. And you won't have to think about it again. You can go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, then pause the episode, go download it on your podcast app. You come back to YouTube, you can watch it here. You can also hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, here in episode 272, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords by atoning for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. And like you mentioned, let's bring it down here. A very serious, I think, heartfelt condolences from both you and I to Coach Nico Estevez. Nico announcing in the club, also posting this picture this morning, announcing that his mother had passed away. I believe I saw somewhere that apparently right after the season ended, he departed to go be with his mother, who was not in great health. So hearing this announcement this morning, obviously heavy hearts for our head coach, and just wanted to say condolences to Nico and the Estevez family. We're thinking about you, man.
Yeah, definitely thinking about his family. Tough man. Really, really sorry to see this and know that, is hanging over his head, for a portion of this season at least. So definitely thinking of his family and wishing them, the best in a really, really tough time.
Yeah, no question. We love you, Coach. And we'll see you back here soon. So let's keep it moving here. And let's we mentioned the schedule dropped kind of surprisingly in the middle of the week, a month before we are used to seeing that schedule for the upcoming regular season. If anybody missed it, we did go live following that schedule release on Thursday. So you can go watch the replay either on the YouTube channel. You've got the audio version. If you're just an audio only listener, that should be in your podcast feed right now as well. I have an additional thought on the schedule. Yeah, I mentioned I thought we would, be talking a little bit more about this, but did you have anything else wrapping up the live stream from Thursday, right? We kind of tried to look every nook and cranny of that 34 game schedule with the big World Cup break in the middle. Anything else you wanted to add on to that?
I got nothing for it.
Okay. Well, let me gripe here a little bit, or at least just throw this idea out there. So let me bring up this picture for the YouTube viewers, right? Grabbed this one off of Twitter, but for the YouTube viewers are seeing this. For you audio only listeners, the kind of the drawings of what we assume these new 5 divisions will be inside the MLS table. And so this is not just going back to the schedule release, but also the news from our previous episode last weekend, talking about the reformatted schedule that will take hold here in Major League Soccer in the middle of 2027, right? With that eliminates your conferences, but we will have the divisions again that aren't denoted in that league table that will determine which teams each club will play twice a year, right? And then the remaining 4 divisions you will play just once. I don't like this, and I will admit off the top, just like we talked about last weekend, it does not feel great to be in the same we think to be in the same division as the 2 Los Angeles teams. And then with what San Diego has put out there on paper this year, clearly an ambitious club, clearly it's working here, at least in their 1 season sample size. And so to have to play those 2 guys, like I said, guys, those 2 teams in LA, and then if San Diego is for real going forward consistently as a winning team, like, all right, man, can we trade with one of the New York teams and have the Revs and Montreal and Toronto in our division? Like, I think for me, and again, I'm acknowledging my Austin FC bias here and maybe a little bit scared of having to play those LA teams twice a year. I think we should have divisions of 3. I think you chop these 5 divisions in half, right? You look at the western part of the map here, very easy. I think you keep the 3 Texas teams, for example, the 2 LA teams in San Diego. You put the Quakes with the 2 Rocky Mountain teams, and you have Cascadia up there in the Pacific Northwest. A little bit different when you get to the middle of the country, right? Because you've got this presumed division with the Loons, Sporting, and St. Louis. That's your, if you're looking at the old conference maps, that would be your crossover division, those 3, along with Columbus, Cincinnati, and Chicago. I think you split these up into 10 divisions of 3, right? Which obviously Austin would be with the 2 Texas teams. You always play the closest geographic teams to you those 2 times, but then rotate through the other divisions. And I do understand, right, that would cause more travel, right? Okay, if we get paired in the schedule rotation 1 season, let's say it's 2029, right? We catch the Toronto, Montreal, Revs division, that is a lot more travel for any of the teams participating in those cross-division games. But we would only see that division for that single season where you play each other home and away. It would be once every 6, 7, 8 years, right? Like, I don't think that should be a huge hurdle if we're trying to make this. And again, maybe fair is not the right word, but that's what comes to mind with this, because I do feel some type of way being stuck in with these huge spending teams out there in Southern California. And I think it's something that is fair to bring up.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. When you presented this idea to me, I thought it was solid for sure, and I'm in that camp with you, man.
Right.
I'm not saying LAFC and LA Galaxy are going to be great forever, and they're going to be.
Well, we just swept them, right? So
yeah, for sure.
I know it's doable, but every year in and year out, those are perennial powerhouses.
Yes, exactly. And like you said with San Diego, obviously the 1 season they've had thus far has been incredibly successful, still in the playoffs, I think. Are they matched up tonight? No.
Tonight is LAFC Vancouver.
Nice. That should be fun. But, when we're looking at this single table, obviously, you still want to keep the rivalry stuff and intact as much as possible. And, that really boils down to the locale. And, if you're looking at this on the YouTube, you could see that we're closer to Colorado than we are to LA. So, in that sense, that would put us in with that kind of group. But to me, man, they're going to have to figure something out. And like we said before, there is no perfect resolution that's going to have everyone happy, and the travel will always make sense, and the format will always make sense, and the days that people are playing will always make sense. So I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe you can get on the line, try to get into the office there or something like that. But I'm with you, dude. Those LA teams will always spend. We've talked about the markets in this league that are going to attract what we think is going to be an influx of talent now that you've lined up with the international windows more properly. And those are the first clubs that they look at. I mean, if you look at the history of the LA Galaxy and who they've had throughout the course of their existence, it's a list of some pretty serious fucking names. So it's hard enough for these smaller market teams. We do think that there's going to be potential increase in the budgets that the teams have to work with and everything like that. But still, these LA teams, the New York teams, obviously, and then with your Miamis as well, they're just going to have a bigger checkbook to work with just because of their resources.
Yeah, the ownership groups, et cetera, right? Their locations, all of that. And again, like look, if I need to be the representative from the Austin delegation to go to the owners' meetings and pitch this, I will.
There we go.
You still play every team in the league once per season. And it just, again, it keeps teams from being stuck in this situation where you're playing teams that are consistently better on paper than the rest of the, like, think about your Sporting. Sporting KC has been bad for the majority of times that we've been fans of this league. Okay, now like Loons, right? Always in the West, they would play them twice, but you're going to add the Crew and Cincy, and like Chicago is revamped now, making the playoffs and on the up and up, new stadium in a couple years. Like, again, we can't be the only fans feeling this way about this. Like, again, maybe nobody is feeling as strong about it as to do 10 minutes on a podcast about it, but again, I would be interested to see if maybe something like this could be worked out.
For sure. And I mean, I feel more of a rivalry with like Minnesota than I do with the LA teams. Like,
sure.
If
at
you
least
ask
at the moment, right?
If you ask an LAFC fan if they're rivals with us, what are they going to say?
I don't know. You can ask the hundreds that came and listened to our podcast when we were playing them in the playoffs. They do care about us.
We're their little brothers. You know what I mean?
For sure.
They've eliminated us both times we've been in the playoffs. You look at the Galaxy as well. They're not going to be looking at us like we're a rival. Obviously, they had an atrocious year last year. Their best player was hurt for the entire season. So, like, to me, that's an outlier. But I don't think that they consider us rivals, and like that's an important aspect of trying to grow this league, in my opinion, because that's the stuff that makes the NFL so special in regard to how that's set up with the 4 teams per division and their locale. Like, the NFL rivalries are huge, and that's something that's missing from like hoops outside of like the larger, the LA market versus Boston, things like that nature, Detroit, Chicago, ones that I'm missing. But like, you want to have that aspect, and until we get better, I just don't think that we're rivals with the LA clubs right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think we would have to follow up a year like that we just had with another dominant year over those teams, I think, to get them to even perk up and pay attention to us in that capacity.
Until we win any sort of hardware, no one is going to be looking at us like we're a super serious club.
Sure.
When the Galaxy are sitting with, I don't know, what do they have, 10, 11, 8, something?
Yeah, like total trophies in their history. Yeah, it's very storied. And obviously more recent, right? They are still technically the defending champions until somebody is crowned here in about 3 weeks. And I did hear while we were talking there, we dropped the veil of the podcasting veil again. Tried to sneak it past the listeners at the beginning, saying it's Sunday. It is a Saturday recording once again, because I got to work tomorrow. So anything else for you on the schedule or my little idea right there?
Nah, good idea. Fuck LA.
All right, let's talk about the international games that happened after we recorded last weekend. We'll go over to the UEFA side of things, where Ukraine, with a 2-0 victory over Iceland to clinch a playoff spot in the UEFA World Cup qualifier playoffs. Alexander Svatok did not start this match against Iceland, but he did come off the bench in the 87th minute to close things down in Ukraine's clean sheet win over Iceland. And Ukraine, with the win, qualifies for one of those playoff spots. So congrats to Ukraine and Alexander.
Absolutely. Big congrats. That's awesome.
And we know Mirtu Izuni with the Albanian national team took on England last Sunday. It was a 2-0 loss for the Albanians, but didn't get scored on until I think the 74th minute. It was a Harry Kane brace that did them in the 2-0 defeat. But Mirtu played the full 90, get a little bit different in terms of his involvement against a team like England compared to, I believe it was Andorra we were talking about last weekend. So in the full 90 minutes, just 24 touches for Izuni, but he did make 4 defensive contributions and won 3 of his 4 ground duels. And even in the loss, Albania clinches a playoff spot. So let's take a look at this draw, and you look down to Path B, yes, that is Ukraine on the left side of the bracket, Albania on the right side of the bracket. So Ukraine, this will be on March 26th, 2026. Ukraine will take on Sweden, while Albania will take on Poland there. That is the weekend after we host LAFC in late March, and the weekend before we go to Miami to take on Messi in the Miami Stadium debut there. Then if those teams win, the final to advance to the World Cup from Path B in Europe could be between Ukraine and Albania on March 31st. So look, impossible for both of our guys to make it out of the UEFA paths here. But how about if they get to face each other for the right to be in the World Cup in the summer? Like, that potential do or die game could be, I mean, it could be tugging on the heartstrings of Austin FC fans everywhere.
That'd be fun. Add a little, very niche element to that matchup for sure, but that would be fun. I am getting my ass whooped by a mosquito in here right now. And it
really?
is just
in the podcast studio?
Massacring my feet right now. I don't know if you've seen me moving and like twitching and like
trying
I
see
to get,
you messing around over there.
God, dude, it is beating the life out of me right now. It's bit me like 6 times.
They've been horrible the last
It is the
weeks.
worst I have ever seen. And I was, like I told you the other day, I was terrible side note, but I was walking in, 2 bit me on my forehead while I was moving. I like went, and there was 2 of them. I was like, Jesus. So if you see me, I'm okay. If you see me on the YouTube, I am just trying. I'm itching all over the place now because this thing has just been feasting on me.
Yeah, that's a tough spot for you, man. If we need to pause, man, and do a little mosquito hunting, we can. Just give me the signal there. If I don't get that signal, I'll keep moving on here. So obviously, this is a big for Svatak, for Azuni. That will come in March. And again, my Austin FC brain also immediately goes to, well, fuck, like, are these guys more focused on these games before LAFC? And are they going to be tired coming back for the Miami game? Yeah. So, that I always think that way. But congrats to those guys on qualifying for these playoffs here, and big games coming up in March.
Indeed.
So coming back to the Americas here, Costa Rica, right? We know Julio Cascante did not play in that loss, so they were in a must-win situation on Tuesday night, and Costa Rica, a 0-0 draw against Honduras means that Los Ticos are out, not even a playoff spot for Costa Rica. And this has to be, again, I'm not super well-versed on the non-US, Mexico, Canada teams in CONCACAF. But for those 3 teams, those 3 nations who are the host nations next summer, they're not in qualifying this year. For Costa Rica to not get in on the CONCACAF side, I think I imagine is a huge disappointment for their national team and their fans. And no Julio in this game either, man. And so I will continue to blame the head coach for not putting Julio Cascante into these games. You guys needed wins. And look, you can't prove that my Julio theory isn't correct. If you would have put him in, maybe you win.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I will say it is pretty cool to see Haiti at the top there.
Absolutely.
I think that's a pretty cool story.
Point.
If you're just watching, as someone who's not overly invested in this, but like seeing Haiti at the top, I thought that was pretty cool. And then what was the one country? Curacao?
Smallest nation to ever qualify, I think.
Yeah, that was awesome. So some cool stories. There always are with this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. For every, Austin fan disappointed that Julio doesn't get in, there's a fan of players of these other countries out there celebrating. So congrats to Curacao. Congrats to Haiti on that. And then, right, Danny Pereira not playing in those World Cup qualifiers, but some friendlies for Venezuela. We talked about his hockey assist against the Aussies. Danny gets another start and plays the full 90 minutes in a 2-0 loss to the Canadians, right? Another friendly here for the Vino Tinto. Danny out there, not a ton of action, was very accurate in the midfield. 55 of those 59 passes. That's a 93% accuracy rate for Danny's passing on the night. I did see only 1 of 5 ground duels won for Pep in that match. But, I think a tougher opponent for sure. There with the Canadians, you see some big MLS names or even ex-MLSers there. Tani Oluwashi getting the start up next to Jonathan David there for the Canadians. But seemed like a good window at worst for Danny here, right? I think played all 180 minutes there for the Venezuelans. So hopefully that is right. He's being able to build on that performance going forward and more consistent opportunities with his national team.
Absolutely. Man, I love those jerseys.
Yeah, no, those are great.
Slick.
And this was a surprise in the beginning of the week as well, dude, because a call up for Ilie Sanchez, and he was called up not to the Spanish national team. And I'm going to show some of my uncultured nature here as we talk a little bit about this. Yeah, I think Ilie was called up to the Catalonian national team for a charity friendly against the Palestinian national team. So Catalan, and I'm sure I'm butchering the inflection on that there, but it's a region in Spain. Like again, I did not deep dive the history here. It does seem interesting, something that I do want to go kind of skim through a little bit more when I have the time. But Catalan, one of the regions in Spain that's actually designated as a nationality because they have a statute of autonomy. Okay. So it seems like there's a lot of interesting history there, and I believe this was Ilie's first call up to the Catalonian national team, and this squad featured 12 players who are in La Liga, another player on this roster from Portugal's first division. And so seeing this, the highlights, the extended highlights of this game, you can see one of the photos here of the teams with the fans in the background. It was more than 30,000 people in attendance on a Tuesday night at Olympic Stadium in Barcelona. Tickets ranged from 5 to 15 euros here, with all proceeds supporting Palestine. You can see the fans, some of the signage there in the background supporting the Palestinian team there. And I didn't see Ilie with the armband, but he did lead his national team out of the tunnel pregame. Based on the extended highlights that I saw, he actually did line up at center back and scored the opening goal in the 4th minute off of a set-piece header, getting in behind the back line there in the 6-yard box and putting it home. So this seems, number one, like a awesome event benefiting Palestine, the whole situation there. Obviously, you and I have thoughts, don't need to get into them now. But they did another friendly 4 days prior to this in the Basque region of Spain.
Cool.
And so kind of doing this little tour and I guess shout out to maybe the country of Spain as a whole for having this tour going around. And you see the support. I think I read that it was 50,000 people at the game in the Basque country. So You see the support and all the proceeds going to Palestine there. Very, very cool. And congrats to Ilie for the honor here, and good on him for the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome, man. And him scoring off a set piece, that's pretty great.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So then we also had, Micah Burton out there with the U20 training camp. We had Irvin Torres going with the U19s over to Wales. So I did find a little bit more about those matches we were talking about 2 weeks ago, One of the 3 matches, right? They took on the Germans, the Japanese, and the Welsh U19s, did the US U19s. They did play the Welsh at the race course, so they did get a game in there at the house that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, I guess, didn't build. They renovated. And then they also had those matches against Germany and Japan. I did not see confirmation of these results from a quick search here over the weekend. But I did hear our boy Hernan say that the U19s maybe even won the entire tournament, which I assume would include winning all 3 of these games or winning 2 and drawing 1. But no negative news out of there, no injuries reported, anything like that for Irvin, who again is now 18. So we are also keeping our eye out for a potential first-team deal for Irvin here this offseason. But again, no matter what happened over there, congrats to Irvin once again on the call-up and what I'm sure was a pretty cool experience.
That had to be an awesome experience. And that's, echo your sentiments. Congratulations. I want to see the kid continue to develop, want to eventually see him with the first team, making an impact for this club. And these are beneficial steps towards doing that. So big shout out to Irvin.
So let's go into the rumor mill here, And I don't think this is the talk of the diehards in the fan base right now, and for good reason. Again, I mentioned at the top of the episode, we do not have those option decisions yet from Adolfo Borrell and his team. But we got a pretty big hint here from Diego himself late this week. This Instagram post reads, "Thanks for welcoming my family and I with open arms from the first minute. It was a dream to play at Q2 Stadium. Thanks for all the memories. We completely love everything from this city. Thanks to the club, the people that works for the club for letting me play here. I'll see you soon for sure. Always grateful for everything." You see the picture there, Diego celebrating one of his many goals here in a verde and black kit. This shocks me, dude.
Yeah.
Only if, I guess I should say only if, this is purely a sporting decision. I don't get it. And again, we don't have confirmation, but this certainly reads like Diego's getting out ahead of those option decisions that he's not going to be returning, at least in a playing capacity, right? Like maybe coaching, maybe academy level, something like that. But this really blindsided me, man. And like, is it something that has to do with the injury that he picked up late in the year? That I think really the only update we got on from coach was like Diego's week to week, right? He was talking about Buka hopefully being able to work through that the quad soreness or whatever it was. And then saying Diego was week to week, and that's all we heard about it, man. Maybe that injury was just worse than we imagined. And it could also be a Diego decision that maybe he's retiring with this message, but this is not a retirement post. So I'm interested to see what comes of this, if he has a next stop as a player, or if he remains here in Austin as a part of the club, or just, as an Austin resident here. But again, just from a purely roster build and sporting perspective, I don't like this, man. I thought, when he was healthy, he was giving us, of course, everything he had, and that was enough, at least in a reserve capacity, to make an impact. So you lose that Diego dark magic if he is indeed gone from the roster. And this is a guy that, again, was not counting against our salary cap, taking up one of those supplemental slots. And it's going to be tough to fill a slot with a player of his quality, even at this stage of his career.
Yeah, I agree. I saw this and was like, what? Like, no way. Obviously because I'm a big Diego fan. He is a fun player to watch. He does, like you said, gives it his all every time he goes out there, has a real joy for the game as well. So this was a bummer to see. And obviously there are players of a higher quality than Diego Rubio that you could replace him with.
Sure.
But the mechanism of keeping him on the supplemental and not having him count against the cap was huge. And it just made his impact even greater for this team and having to fill it out depth-wise. And I think, from a personality standpoint, I think from a veteran leadership standpoint, and from a guy who was a real gamer and was feisty every single time he went out there, those intangibles are difficult to find in some players. Not everyone has that. You know what I mean? And it wasn't a switch for Diego. That shit was on. It was stuck. It was up and it was stuck with him. So it was great to see him play, and I thought we talked about at the end of the season, was he going to make the difference in the LAFC matchup? No. Would he have helped? I think so, for sure. And, like I talked about, I thought I voted him one of my overperforming players for the end of the season, because when we asked him to slide in that bit of more advanced role in the middle of the field, I thought he did a very good job at that. And I thought that buoyed us quite a bit after that difficult Brandon Vasquez injury. So I think this is a bigger loss than it might be, perceived from the counting stats. For sure. But replacing a guy of his caliber and having them on the supplemental roster is not just something you can just pluck off a tree. You know what I mean? This is not a super easy find. So this is a big bummer.
Yeah, no, you're spot on there, right? It's again, neither of us are making the argument that Diego was the game in, game out, game changer, right? That he once was. This is a guy who was, right or wrong, a designated player for the Rapids in 2023.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the view of Diego Rubio, at least when he signed that contract, right? Was DP level player in this league. And again, we could go through the Rapids DP signings and trading for Kevin Cabral, things like that. But again, this is Diego was such a high quality player in this league. It's the injuries have to be playing a role here. We know he struggled with the knee last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what was called the hamstring at the end of this year. Again, you're just not going to get a guy with that high of a talent floor, and high of a ceiling on his best days, even in that latter stage of his career, on a supplemental deal. That is rare. It's going to be very tough to replace that talent floor in the roster slot that he was occupying.
Yep.
And again, takes a body away from an attack where we're going through 2 weeks ago for our biggest needs, and it's all guys going forward for the most part.
Yeah.
So again, trying to separate the roster build from like the player and the man here, I guess, a little bit. If this is, we'll say our official farewells to any guys that aren't picked up on next week's episode. But I'm sad to see him go, man, for a myriad of reasons.
Yeah, exactly. In 2022, he had 21 goal contributions, scored 16 times. You know what I mean? Like this is a guy who definitely was talented, man. Like we both said, it's going to be tough to replace that on a supplemental deal.
Yeah. Something I'm just thinking of here as we transition away from the Diego talk is I'll always remember the goal he scored headed right in our face when he was with Colorado there in 2023, the late equalizer there that kind of took the wind out of our sails for the rest of that match. I don't think he scored in the North End while he was here, dude. Not that I can remember.
I don't think so either. I mean, I was just
I'll have to go back and look, but
would he have 6 total goals for us over the course of 2 years?
A number of them on the road, right?
He had that one that I really liked this year, but that was in the South End where he got the steal to get one on. I don't think he did score in the North End. Well, bring him back, goddammit.
Yeah. Well, we will of course address Diego and those option decisions. It is, you and I were talking on the way to celebrate with Gmo for his birthday last night and talking about something is still being negotiated here that's holding this up.
Yep.
Because not only has Roto made the option decisions much earlier in this process in each of his first 2 off seasons, but you see these other teams that were in the playoffs with us and got knocked out in the first round. A number of them have already announced their option decisions. So there is something going, whether it's, I think maybe the most likely thing that's going on is contract negotiations for a potential extension for Danny.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows what's going on, man. And the deadline is the 26th. So Wednesday of this week, you will have these option decisions by Thanksgiving or the day before Thanksgiving, rather. So, we're on high alert to see what's going on. I expect to see something that's, again, maybe not a surprise, but I expect to see some sort of evidence of what is holding this up when we do get that press release from the team.
I'm right there with you.
Anything else for you on Diego?
No.
All right, so transitioning now into a little bit of the nonsense here, E. Wanted to thank everybody who participated in the first round voting of the 2025 Austin FC Goal of the Year bracket here in the North End. Record participation, which I think we've done every year as more and more people flock to the North End. More and more folks pick up their fandom of Austin FC. But let's go ahead. Let's look at the bracket, some of the results here. We did have some upsets and one matchup that was on upset alert early because I keep track of these results as they come in throughout the week of voting. That Vasquez 1 seed in the home region, the Atlanta free kick goal. The first 48 hours of voting, dude, that 1 seed was down to Rubio's 8 seed, the steal and solo goal against Seattle there in September, ends up being a 61-39 margin there for the Vasquez 1 seed to advance, where he will take on his own goal, his opening goal against San Diego, the 5 seed in the home region. And then you do get an upset at the bottom. Guilherme Biru's 41st minute goal against Houston, the 2 seed, upset 52-48 by Owen Wolf's dunk, the equalizer in the 51st minute in August against FC Dallas. So the 7 seed, so the 5 and the 7 seed advancing here in the home region.
It's going to be tough sledding for Azuni, man.
Yeah.
Did he advance in any of his
He
goals?
did, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah. He's gonna have a tough road here. I was a fan. I thought that Rubio goal was poorly ranked by the committee. But
Which you're a part of.
yeah.
But you don't have veto power.
But the Vasquez free kick goal, man, was a real beauty. God, Azuni getting smashed 90 to 10 there.
90 to 10.
And the list of Owen Wolf dunks, man. The one that I had that I believe had was upset. No, I put the matchup that the Owen Wolf dunk goal had on upset, but I don't think it pulled it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you look at the away region, which was very close to being the Owen Wolf region, and kind of is now as we head into the second round of voting here. The 1 seed Wolf goal at Sporting, right, bringing that long ball down over the top, taking a peek at John Polskamp as he's doing it, splitting the defenders, 94-6 over his boy Jean Kolmanich, his first and only goal in a verde and black uniform. Tough matchup there for Jean.
Tough.
You had a wolf-on-wolf matchup in the 4-5 that more of a team goal against Montreal. I mean, Owen carrying that ball, but then the give and go from Izuni after O'Brien was the one who won the ball back down in the defensive third. That was a pretty resounding victory. And then a very strong performance by CJ's first MLS goal there in the 82nd minute, the winner at Sporting KC. That's a 90 to 10 break again over an Izuni goal, the 22nd minute at DC. So in the second round here in the away division, or bracket rather, region, third time's the charm, Wolf, and Wolf assist on CJ's game winner. So it is turning into the Owen Wolf region over there.
Well, I mean, to be expected with the goal contributions he had this year for sure. CJ's going to be sitting pretty, man. I tell you that much.
Yeah, you scroll down, you see CJ right there at the top of the Vibes region, and CJ's winner in extra time against Minnesota to send Austin to the Open Cup final is the most dominant in the first round matchups, 97-3 over Ilya's 31st minute goal against Houston back in August. There's an Izuni goal advancing. So you've got the number 1 seed Fodre goal that sends Austin to the Open Cup final, matched up against Austin's only goal in that Open Cup final, Izuni's stoppage or extra stoppage time. Stoppage time, first half goal against Nashville, advances past Brandon Vasquez's winner against the Red Bulls, 60-40 there. So that'll match up with CJ's game winner in the semifinals. And then you get another Izuni goal, that 2 seed there, assisted from CJ, the winner against Seattle in September, will match up with Owen Wolf's 83rd minute winner against LAFC in October. It's a pretty strong region left here in the Vibe second round.
That is a very strong region. Obviously, I think the Fodre goal is the front runner to win the whole thing here. So you have the top seed, in my opinion, there. And then those other 3 goals are not only nice, but also quite impactful in the games that they took place in. So this is fun to see, man.
That Vibes region always strong, man. You know, it's always some of the most emotional goals of the year end up in that Vibes region. So you close it out here with the Verde region headed into the second round. Brandon Vasquez gets his second 1 seed through another 1-5 Vasquez matchup here in the Verde region as you get the 58-42 upset 5-4 matchup. Vasquez against Buca's opening night winner against Sporting. And then at the bottom of the bracket, another 2-7 upset, another Izuni goal. So you've got 3 Izuni goals through that 40th minute goal at the Galaxy. That was that little extra, that was the right before the half, the Izuni goal, quick strike pass, I think from Rubio, getting around Maya Yoshida there, bearing it. You and I jumping up in TJ's garage on a Wednesday night, waking up his neighbors, celebrating that right before the half. That'll take on Bucari's 12th minute goal against San Jose. So there you have it, E. Second round underway. And you can go to the northendpodcast.com right now. We will also have links out on our social channels. Go ahead, get your votes in here. It only gets quicker to vote from here on out. So second round voting live now through next Saturday night. And again, appreciate everybody who's participating. Hope you come on back here for the second round.
Yeah, man, it's fun. Thanks to everyone who's casting their vote, letting their voice be heard. Vote or die.
Come on down to Palmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's Lost Business Day.
Last business day here on episode 272 of the North End podcast. Ian, the surprises did not stop with the first team this week. Austin FC2 has named Jason Shackle as the new head coach of the team. Shackle, former Premier League center back. He has been serving as the U16 head coach for the Austin FC Academy. Some of the things from the club's press release highlighting that, or I should say, Rodolfo Borrell was quoted as saying, "We are excited to promote Jason to this new position within the Austin FC development pathway, and we're confident he will be a good leader for our second team." In addition, we want to express our gratitude to Brett Utley for all of his hard work and dedication over the last 3 years, and we wish him nothing but the best in his next endeavor. So I do want to pause the Jason Shackle talk for a moment to give Coach Utley some flowers here in the North End because Coach Utley departs the club upon expiration of his contract. So just not re-upped here by the club. He potentially could be pursuing other opportunities as well. So right under Coach Utley, man, Austin FC2 won the Next Pro title in its first season in existence. That is, I mean, it's the only star that we have at the professional level in this club's young history. So, man, and you see Coach Utley will be forever enshrined in the last business day video here in the North End, right? So, thanks to Coach, man, because it's been obviously an up and down 3 years, but the ride that we went on with the second team in 2023, especially when we had really little to cheer for the first team, you'll always remember that, and that star will always be on the crest. The banner will always be hanging there at Palmer Field. So best of luck to Coach Brett Utley, whatever his next step in his coaching career ends up being.
Yes, a huge thank you to Coach Utley, man. Obviously, getting that first championship, being a part of that run at the Next Pro level was a lot of fun, and we loved that team that year. Obviously, it was super talented. Having to deal with the roster turnover that you're going to have to deal with at the Next Pro level is a real challenge, and I think you saw this last season. There was, I don't know if we need to play the reckless speculation song or anything like that, but we saw some potentially disciplinary stuff going on with Grogan, some things.
Anthony DeAnda gets cut.
That's right. Some stuff behind the scenes that just there was some turmoil and everything like that. And I think Utley's a good coach. I do. I thought that obviously in the championship season, I thought that he was super impactful in Austin getting the job done there. But again, just the turnover with these rosters, man, it must be really, really challenging to implement the systems that you want to have, build the relationships that are necessary to have between a player and coach that really build that kind of trust when you're out there playing and coaching on the sidelines. So I just looked up Shackle a little bit here, 18 seasons over there in England, various levels, got some Premier League mixed in. And I'm excited for his opportunity here. We know that Austin FC2 and this pipeline that we're trying to create is a point of focus for the front office. And I mentioned it when the first round of the playoffs happened 25 years ago, when we were watching the first round in the Seattle matchup, and the amount of homegrowns that those guys rolled out there. You know what I mean? And we see these pipelines for certain teams. FC Dallas comes to mind for sure, that you want to have kids in your system that you can have come up through the ranks, and this is an important aspect of that. So best of luck to Utley in his next endeavors, and looking forward to see what Shackle has for the Austin FC2 team.
Yeah, very well said about Coach Utley there. And just some more from the press release about Coach Shackle. You mentioned, right, 500 professional matches in his home country from 2003 to 2020. Career highlights: 3 times promoted to the Premier League between Wolverhampton, Norwich City, and Burnley. Won the EFL Championship title with Wolves in 2009. championship team of the year with Burnley in 2014, EFL League Two, won EFL League Two rather with Lincoln City in 2019 and was League Two team of the year that season. Shackle's actually been with the academy since almost the inception, right? February 2021 is when he joined as a U15 assistant coach, which I believe would put him on the staff with Coach Olivares, who won the GA Cup, I think, with those U15s, if my timing is correct. Coach Shackle took over as U16 head coach prior to the 2024 season. So Shackle, the press release saying, will oversee a coaching staff, which includes assistant coach Omar Jaroun and goalkeeper coach Peter Davis. So we will also, of course, dive into the Austin FC2 roster, the contract options coming up for that team, and maybe try to analyze and prognosticate a little bit on who we may or may not see at Palmer Field next season. But congrats to Coach Shackle on the promotion, the new gig, and excited to see what he can do here with FC2.
Absolutely.
All right, so closing this out, with a little bit of academy news, and it was the academy announcing on Wednesday that they have created a new local tournament here, which will be called the Viviero Cup. It arrives early this December, created to strengthen the academy pathway and bring the top young talent in Central Texas together here in Austin. So this year, from December 5th to 7th, clubs from all across the area and beyond will compete at the Performance Center, including our U12s and U13s. Some of the other local academies and clubs that will be there, right? Cap City, FC, SC, one of the teams that we're familiar with in that MLS Next schedule, Ryogoku Academy, SA City, Rayados Pflugerville, BTX FC, and Dragons FC will compete in this early December tournament. So we will, of course, keep our eyes peeled for results from the first Viviero Cup there in early December, and keeping our eyes out for more academy results as their season continues here. Coming off what was a very hot weekend last weekend with the 4 wins and a draw.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be fun.
Alrighty. Think we made it through all the news and nonsense here, especially being able to get that schedule talk out of the way on the midweek live stream. So one more time, directing anybody who wants the extended schedule talk. And right on the live stream, we interact with some of the listeners who are able to jump in there while we're live. Anything else for you here before we shut it down on 272?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Did you kill that mosquito?
No, I thought I saw it right there, but it's a different bug. So plenty of bugs up here, apparently.
You're infested.
Happy Thanksgiving. We're not going to record before then, so hope everyone has a wonderful day and stays safe and enjoys themselves. Have some good food. I'll be turkey trotting. I don't know if anyone else is listening will be out there, but I'll be giving it my all like Diego Rubio. might do a couple dives, try to improve my time, something along those lines. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, man.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment as well, and I will be giving it my all at the dinner table and on the couch on Thursday. So we appreciate you all tuning in, sticking with us here on episode 272 of the North End Podcast. We are back next weekend, reading and reacting to the option decisions that are due for Austin FC on Wednesday, and of course, talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, everybody. We will do the same. We'll see you back here next weekend for another episode. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.